Would French President Emmanuel Macron be the man who will cause a no-deal outcome from these UK-EU negotiations? It's a scenario that looks increasingly plausible, judging from latest reports. I'm going to bring you all the very latest, guys, on this. But as ever, if you could please start off by clicking subscribe and the bell so you don't miss future reports, that would really help me out. I'd really appreciate it. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are very happy now for the UK to walk away from the EU's continuing demands on areas like the so-called level playing field, the UK signing up to EU rules. Clearly something that those in Brussels still want the British government to commit to. And what do we know? Well, we know that Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, has met with the German government this week. He's met with German Chancellor Angela Merkel this week. And of course, in a previous report, I reported that, but also the fact that the German foreign minister described a no deal was irresponsible, and that EU diplomats are now briefing, there was a story in the Telegraph, are now briefing that they want Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, to personally intervene to hand the EU a UK deal, when previously they had insisted that everything should go through the channels of the negotiators. A sign of desperation, I would say, on the EU side. Now, at the heart of this, at the very heart of this, as we know, is the issue of fisheries, the EU policy on fisheries, devastating the British fishing industry, destroying opportunities in coastal communities, and a real opportunity with Brexit to rejuvenate some of those communities and areas, especially, of course, when you look at the economic situation we're now in amidst this pandemic. Now, a report from Bloomberg stating that Emmanuel Macron, of course, the French president, holds the key to a deal being done. So far, he's keeping it in his pocket. And this is the claim, guys. Just want you to understand how hardline this position is. The French president is standing firm on his demand to keep the same access. That's right, the same access to British waters his country's fishing industry enjoys today, according to officials familiar with the talks. So that is the French position in this negotiation. No compromise, no change. The French want the same access after the end of the transition period as they enjoy now. That's Bloomberg report, angering the British and creating tensions even among allies within the EU. You know, this is dreamland stuff, guys. If the French president seriously thinks that the UK can go along with that or anything like it, then no deal seemingly is now inevitable. Unless, of course, we see the British government completely cave in a horrendous way, which, to be fair, there's no indication from Lord Frost that he would do that. He, of course, highlighted in his latest statement, he called it a large gap remained between the UK and the EU on fisheries. Bloomberg report saying that as the Brexit talks enter their final critical few weeks, officials on both sides are voicing doubts over whether they can get a deal over the line. EU negotiators say that while they wait for the Prime Minister Boris Johnson to offer concessions on state aid, the other major obstacle to an accord, Paris's stance on fish, is becoming a second major focus of concern. Macron designed the EU's hardline opening position that Britain should be forced to hand over just as much fish as it did when a member of the European Union, and so far hasn't budged. The entire UK-EU trade deal could fail over this one issue. And of course, Boris Johnson has set that 15th of October deadline. He said that if a deal isn't in the offing, then the UK will simply move on, assume no deal, assume WTO, and stop this. But I wanted to point this out because we hear so often, don't we, from the British mainstream media, they swallow what the EU say wholesale more often than not. But this, you know, this is dreamland stuff. This is crackers, is it not? That the French stance, seemingly seeping into the EU's position, is that nothing should change on fisheries. Bonkers, truly bonkers. Boris Johnson's spokesman James Slack quoted as saying that on Tuesday the UK is committed to working towards an agreement. Quote saying there does remain a significant amount of work to do and time is short, he told reporters. Publicly, other European governments are standing by Macron, and other fishing nations such as the Netherlands, Denmark hold similar views, Bloomberg report. The EU also believes it can extract the most concessions from the UK by presenting a united front, and that drawing attention to Macron's entrenched position will only make it more difficult for him to back down. But this is an interesting aspect as well. Behind the scenes, senior diplomats say there is tension between Paris, Berlin and Brussels as they prepare for the endgame of the negotiations. While they think some of Macron's stance is a negotiating tactic, trust in the French president has all but evaporated, they said. They are convinced that Macron's stubbornness could lead to a no-deal outcome. Say it again. Macron's stubbornness on fisheries could lead to a no-deal outcome. Now, we are at a critical moment in this whole negotiation. Another report that came out recently say that the EU has no plans to offer concessions to Boris Johnson before next week's Brexit deadline, betting that the UK Prime Minister won't make good on threats to walk away from trade negotiations if he doesn't get what he wants. That's another Bloomberg report. So I guess what it comes down to is Macron is holding this very hardline position, the EU holding a very hardline position on areas like fisheries, because they don't believe, it would seem, that Boris Johnson is serious about walking away with no deal. And it just shows you this deep into the transition period, this deep into the negotiations, that you would still have the French president essentially wanting to maintain the status quo. It is truly balmy. There's no way that the British people would support a sellout, anything like that, from the government. And I hope those negotiating on behalf of the UK realise that. It seems at the moment, at least, that they do, though of course we've heard the rumour about offering a 3-year transition period whereby European fleets entitlements would wind down until 2024, nearly a decade after that 2016 vote. That, in my view, is unacceptable as well. Bloomberg going and say that to break the deadlock, the EU wants Johnson to become more personally involved in the process. Now, I've pointed this out before. That, to me, is a sign of weakness, because they previously insisted that it shouldn't be done at government level. It should be done through Michel Barnier. It should be done through the British negotiators. And now that slight sense of panic that they want Boris Johnson to pick up the phone and to get personally involved. Bloomberg also reporting that the UK rejects the idea that it's up to him to deal with the EU capitals, preferring to leave talks to his negotiating team, which all the way through had been what the EU had insisted upon until we get to the crunch time in these negotiations. And I think they're going a bit jelly, they're going a bit wobbly, they're getting slightly panicked. A UK spokesman saying the government remains fully committed to reach an agreement by the 15th of October, but we'll have to wait and see. So in all of this, at the heart of this, is the French president, a French position in these negotiations that essentially wants to maintain the same access to British waters, to maintain the status quo, a position that simply cannot be allowed to continue. And all the way through, I'll point it out again, Lord Frost in his latest statement, he actually said that the largest gap, a very large gap, remained between the UK side and the EU side on fisheries. Now you know why. Because this still here, with the transition period fast approaching, is still the really, really hardline position that the EU, that the French president are holding. Will they back down and do a sensible trade deal with the UK? If not, no deal, walking away, surely is what the British government will have to do. But let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think the British government should do. Let me know what you think about this stance from the French president that's been reported. And as ever, guys, if you found this report helpful and informative, please remember to click the thumbs up button. That really helps me out. Click subscribe and the bell so you don't miss future reports. And of course, guys, as ever, thank you very much for watching.